Hello everyone, my name is Holden Hardman. Thank you so much for joining me again for another video. This month we're wanting to knock out a few horror movies that Matt hasn't seen, and Jenna actually hasn't seen either, so I'm really excited about that. We will be finishing the Logan unofficial trilogy, so don't worry, because I know I really want to watch Logan with Matt, and we will do that after this month. People are already gonna hate that, I can already tell. Today we're watching The Evil Dead. This was Sam Raimi's first movie. He directed it when he was like in his early 20s. I went to his panel in Tampa. I got the opportunity to meet him. He signed one of my Spider-Man memorabilia things. He was talking about how at the panel they would take it was like him, Bruce Campbell, and a couple of their other friends. They would work making like minimum wage and pool all their money, and on Saturdays they would like work on this movie, and they kept trying to get producers or investors to try and help them make it. And Sam Raimi told the story of one time they were able to rent out a theater, which cost them a lot of money, and they could only do it like periodically, so they were like always banking on it. And a producer sat in the theater to watch it, and then not even 15 minutes later walked out and didn't even talk to them. They were really trying to make their way. They're a couple kids from Michigan trying to make movies, so it's a really relatable for me in that regard. It's one of the reasons I really love Sam Raimi, to see him being just like a kid that liked making movies with like his buddies, to go from that to making like the Spider-Man trilogy to now going to direct Doctor Strange 2 for the MCU. So I love him in that regard. At Sam's panel, he was talking about how he would watch these horror movies that were coming around at the time, like in the late 70s, early 80s. They weren't very good. They were just like crappy slasher films. And so he literally thought to himself, he said he was inspired because he's like, I could make a better movie than this. And so that's what The Evil Dead was, him trying to make a better horror movie. And it has stood the test of time, which is fantastic. I think it's great. After the success of the first Evil Dead, he goes into The Evil Dead 2. Well, we'll get into that one. What are you thinking about going into The Evil Dead, just from what you know of us talking about it and it being a horror movie?
So I'm actually a bit of a pansy when it comes to horror movies. When we did Parasite and Homeboy peeked up and I saw his eyeballs, I couldn't sleep the entire night. I know that wasn't even made to be a scary scene, but that got me. I do like Halloween, those movies, I think because I grew up with them, but I have no idea what The Evil Dead is about. Jenna is absolutely terrified of it, but I think that I am less terrified than her. I have already planned on not being able to sleep for this entire month. I am very excited to watch Halloween movies because it's kind of cool. We've now shifted into doing something seasonal with the My Friend Watches, so like, I don't know, I guess I just didn't feel this coming, but it's exciting. Yeah. And I just screw sleep. Yeah. I
did not watch horror movies for the first time until I was like at the end of being in high school, after high school, because I hated them. I got scared and I didn't like them. Now I'm able to view them much more from like a filmmaking perspective, and so I think like, man, I wonder how they did that. I wonder how they did it. So that's kind of the way that I think now. So it's less like I can take myself out of the immersion if I need to. That being said, for me, I don't know about everyone else, I can only do so many horror movies at a time before it starts to just like affect my soul and like kind of like bring me down.
Yes.
So I'm very much like that. So I know if this is too much, then we're like, you know what, we need to watch Ace Ventura instead or something.
I don't do well with people getting tortured. That really rakes at my soul. So Holden, I agree with you that I think I will have a certain limit to what I can take. However, I think if the torture is justified, it's a different situation.
What do you consider justified torture?
Well, you know, I mean, like Taken. You know that movie? Like he's looking for his daughter. Like, dude, I'm gonna you up.
Yeah, okay, that's a pretty good point. I was hoping you were gonna have more struggle with that, but I actually agree with that. Okay.
But like Saw, no, can't do it.
Jenna is not a fan of horror movies. If any of these are too much, I totally understand. I don't think that this will be. I could be wrong. I'm not trying to challenge you. What are you thinking about going into the Evil Dead trilogy?
I'm already preparing. I'm gonna be sitting on the couch with a pillow to cover my eyes. I'm gonna be sitting here with my emotional support dog, Nova.
That's not real. That's not a real thing. She doesn't have like a badge or anything.
I'll get her one. She's my unofficial, official emotional support dog. Yeah, if I get up and run out, that's not unexpected.
Jeremy, as probably the biggest horror buff here, going into The Evil Dead, how do you think Matt and Jenna will react to this movie?
So my experience with horror movies is quite a bit different. I remember looking at VHS covers as a 6 and 7-year-old and I had to see these movies. The Evil Dead trilogy is one that I really like. I can especially see why Holden digs it because of the fact fact that it's micro budget. Sam Raimi did it basically with friends of his right out of high school. I think he was 21 when he directed the first movie, which is unbelievable. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't anticipate Matt and Jenna liking Evil Dead very much. I could be 100% wrong. There are definitely like novelty things to enjoy about it. I would venture to say you guys are going to progressively like them more as it goes along. Has a lot to do with budget, resources, scope, all of those kind of things. But it's the DIY atmosphere. It's these shots that Raimi basically created, which we'll talk a little bit more about afterwards. But these signature things, when you see it, you're like, oh yeah, that's a Sam Raimi thing. You'll see other filmmakers do it, and you're like, oh, I think they lifted that from Evil Dead.
Oh, wow.
Very influential, very important to genre fans. So even if you guys hate it, at least you can maybe appreciate it from a craft perspective, you know?
I was just about to add on to what Jeremy was saying about the Sam Raimi shots, because there's shots that he does in these that you could see him do in Spider-Man, that every time I see it, I'm like, oh, that's Evil Dead right there. We'll talk about specifically which shots after the fact. Pastor, who's not actually here yet technically, what do you think about the Evil Dead?
Evil Dead is one of those movies that was not what it intended to be, I think, and midway through kind of morphed, kind of like The Room. It's still a classic. Myself, I prefer the second one more, but the first one is definitely more of a horror film than the others in the franchise were. So I'm eager to see what everyone thinks who hasn't seen this movie. If you in the comments are expecting something different, please tell me what you thought you expected, because I'd love to hear the comments about it.
All right, let's get into it. Sam Raimi's The Evil Dead.
What year did this come out?
1981.
Oh, that's 1080p for sure.
It's a 21-year-old made this. Relax. More than you've ever done.
How'd you get that fog?
Dry ice.
That is dope.
It's not bubbling there. This car is in every Sam Raimi movie, by the way. It's Uncle Ben's car.
I'm immediately not afraid of this movie. It reminds me of like Michael Myers and Jason. It's gonna be some jump scares.
Well, it might not be that bad.
No.
Actually, it might be kind of nice.
Yeah. Good dialogue.
Jesus. Uncle Ben's car.
Yeah.
Why this car?
It's just Sam's car. Yeah. Like,
Oh, really?
It's been in his family for...
That's trippy.
Is Matt filming this? What? Why is it so tricky?
I like how they don't care that it like hits the camera.
Yeah, I like that though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably right. Probably just some animal. Here, Cheryl, why don't you go down and check, make sure.
Scotty, I'm not going down there.
Shut up.
Oh, God.
I know.
Yeah, just like me. I'm gonna break your face.
Wow, geez. I'm gonna break your face. Good Lord.
I believe I have made a significant find in the Kandarian runes. It is entitled Naturan de Manto, roughly translated, Book of the Dead. Mansis on Hazan Sobar.
That's a pretty cool shot.
Yeah, it is. Move! Wait a minute.
This is how Groot was made.
I want to get out of here. I want to leave this place right now.
How much money was this budget?
It's supposed to be 150. They say it came in at 500. Some people say 350.
Good Lord.
It just hits different.
You will die! Like the others before you.
You alright? Someone want to help me? Sorry, Cheryl! So we're all just gonna go to bed after that?
Yeah, right?
They have amazing coping skills for sure.
I'm sorry, Matt.
Lifelong friends.
Matt, I'm sorry. We had a good series.
Look, I'm getting out. I don't care what happens to her.
Nice guy.
She's your girlfriend. You take care of
That's
her.
where they got the monster
I'm
logo.
getting the hell out.
It's almost like you've seen this.
There you go.
What a day, huh?
Wait, he's downstairs? Yeah. What about the demon that's downstairs?
Oh!
What is there left in this cabin for you?
I paid $300 for that Yeti cooler.
For the love of God.
Oh!
There you go. I will be giving a 1 star for this Airbnb. That is cool. You gotta destroy the book with the necklace.
I just finished watching The Evil Dead. I still am always very impressed about how young everybody that worked on this movie was. Sam Raimi was around, I think he was 21 when he directed this. All of his friends, it's just him and a bunch of his friends, so they're all in their early 20s. So very, very impressive that they were able to raise the money and make this. Very inspiring to me, honestly. Pastor, you're a big fan of horror movies. What did you think upon the rewatch?
Movie's great. Definitely one of those, like you said, inspirational movies for people that are trying to do YouTube or even short films for film festivals and stuff. The practical effects were super, obviously now by today's standards, not that great, but back then it was like you had to do something with what you had. I do like the fact that a lot of modern day horror movie tropes come from this movie. Cabin of the Woods is a big reminder of that. For me, in recent years, that's probably the movie that's closest as far as like the visuals look and everything. I love that it's a group of friends making movies because it makes it to where if you are a YouTuber, you can very easily identify with this movie particularly, and I think that it ended really, really well too. I love that classic ending of the zooming in and then the classical music playing in the background. It was really good.
It's hard for me to think outside of like modern day filmmaking, because even when I'm watching like how they mix the stop motion and then the actual footage, you can sometimes see it kind of go out of place a little bit. I think of like working from like my editing software. So the fact that not only this movie but movies at that time doing everything practically or like through analog, it's very impressive to me. It's a totally different way of filmmaking, like of doing all this stuff. Jeremy, you're a big lover of horror as well. We talked about that earlier. First off, how long has it been since you'd seen this, and upon rewatching it, how did you feel about it?
It's been a while, dude. I think the last time I saw it was 5 to 10 years ago. It's been somewhere in between that.
I didn't realize it had been that long.
It's been a while. It's been a while. And when I go back and I revisit the Evil Dead franchise, a lot of times I go to Evil Dead 2. I feel like that, as Pastor said, is kind of the quintessential Evil Dead movie. It's funny, Raimi didn't really like horror movies, and he kind of, as you said, he was like, I can do a horror movie better. And when you watch Evil Dead, you kind of get the impression that it was more about the technical side of it than it was the narrative side of it. There's not a lot of dialogue, continuity issues throughout it. The thing that makes Ash the character that we all know and love today is very much not present in the first Evil Dead movie. We talked a little bit about the shots, and I think what's really cool is all of these POV shots that come into play within the Evil Dead movie. Like, what they would do is they took a 2x4 and they mounted the camera in the middle of it, and they would drag it real low through the woods to get those kind of shots of the demon coming in. The practical effects, they're incredibly crude, but it's really easy to appreciate it because you're like, they went in with a $150,000 budget. They ended up coming in under $500,000, which is like way more than what they anticipated spending, but every single dollar, you can see it in the frames. And it's a really enjoyable movie to watch with a crowd. As I mentioned a little bit ago, I feel like Evil Dead 2 really capitalizes on the premise in a way and kind of fleshes out some of the ideas in it, but I think it's a good time. I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, Sam Raimi at his panel even talked about how he wasn't like a big fan of horror. He would like get scared of stuff. But honestly, like from a filmmaking perspective, horror is the easiest and cheapest method of filmmaking. As a matter of fact, Pastor, you and I did a short film called Bump in the Night because you can do it usually in a singular location. In this case, just the cabin in the woods. In our case, was that house. And upon doing like any filmmaking stuff was, for me, when we did Bump in the Night, there were like 3 different effects I wanted to try to do. And so I wrote the script around doing those effects. One of them was I was just learning how to mask out. So there's this shot I have like where there's this little cross like dangling over nothing. When we did Michael Myers, actually we all worked on the Halloween video. When we did that, there were like certain effects in singular locations. We just happened to have a really good location. So it makes sense to do a horror movie if you're low budget. That's why there are so many low budget horror movies. Jenna, you were the most reluctant to get into horror in the first place. After watching our first horror movie of October, what did you think of The Evil Dead?
I was really nervous to begin with. I don't think I'll have nightmares about this like I was afraid I would. There was a lot of gore. I don't understand why it was banned in several countries because of that gore.
I think it was because of that rape scene, like that forest rape scene, I think. Yeah. Which is really uncomfortable to watch upon rewatching it even. And
that was rough.
But that's what Jeremy said. It was that was the scene essentially.
I forgot about that scene. That wasn't necessary for the movie. It didn't even go along with the rest of the plot. That was just too much. But it was actually enjoyable to a point. I don't know that I would ever watch it again, but it was okay.
I'll take okay. Very good. And Matt, somebody who's not crazy about horror movies either, what did you think about Evil Dead?
I guess a part of me enjoyed this. I think knowing the tropes of Sam Raimi and all that made me more invested, so it's y'all's fault that I kind of like that. It definitely wasn't terrifying. No, I'm not big on horror movies, but definitely wasn't scary. It really wasn't even too many jump scares. They built anticipation really well. There was a lot of continuity issues, which I understand back then, low budget. I take that back, 150 grand for a 21-year-old in the early 80s, that's impressive.
Yeah, they raised all that money themselves too. They
really?
So they had to find people that had confidence in them. Something I don't know if I could be like, even with my skill, to be like, hey, give me money and then I'll give it back to you once this turns a profit. It's such a gamble, and the fact that they just did that is awesome.
I'm gonna actually talk about the story because you guys know how I am. Like, the story is what gets me. A lot of continuity issues. Bygone Jim moment. No, I'm just kidding. There was absolutely none. There was not that much commentary, but I don't look at this like there wasn't a Bygone Jim moment, so I don't like it. I know that that's not what this is. I guess the things that sort of took me out a little bit was the continuity issues. So like he'd be doused in blood in the next scene. He had just like a little bit of blood on his shirt. Homegirl getting raped by the vines in the very beginning, yet nobody else got raped by the vines or anything sexual. It was like one-time mention of something sexual. And then Scotty, old Scott, what a douche. He was the only one. First of all, I say he's a douche, but he actually had the most balls of anybody there. Like he was the one that was, yeah, he was like, I'm out, I'm walking.
I disagree with that because at one point he literally was like, I don't care about you or the girl, I'm leaving because I'm a
I'm not saying like he's a great guy. I'm saying like he had the most balls of anybody there. He was like, I'm taking this axe, I'm gonna hack this person up. Yeah. I'm walking out by myself. Oh, y'all aren't going peace. Like, he's still a douche, but he had like the most balls there. And then Ash, poor guy, he was just in the corner like, oh, I got a shotgun, but I'm gonna stand here. Like, numerous times Ash was attacked or bit or whatever, and he just sort of stood there. He's like, this hurts like hell, I'm gonna stand here. Like, Scotty in the very end bit Ash while he was laying there, but nothing happened with that. So it was kind of strange trying to figure out, like, when do you become the demon? At the very end, how the demons were sort of self-imploding, it felt really random. Like, I don't know, it was not consistent. However, overall, I respect what happened. Like, knowing all of the stuff behind it, it was actually fairly fun.
It's interesting going back and seeing like the practical effects. It's hard for me to kind of disconnect in that way because I'm looking at the gloves. I'm wondering how they did the face makeup. I wonder how they did the stop motion, you know, the whole time. And oh, there was a little, I could see the stop motion and the actual footage kind of unaligned for a second. All I see is filmmaking. I see a kid making a film. As far as like the movie itself, I'll do my rating first if that's okay. I'd probably give the movie itself probably like a 6. You know, there's a lot of technical continuity issues. Sam Raimi never went to film school either, so considering that, being 21, definitely more achievement than I'd ever had at 21 or even now, really.
No. Don't do that. Do not cut yourself down. Nope. In the comments, don't cut yourself down, Holden. No. We're not walking away from this, even though it's your video. You've amassed a crazy audience through making fantastic content. You are incredible at what you do. Take it.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I'm just as good as Sam Raimi. Anyways, I see a lot of filmmaking. The movie itself, I'd rate probably around a 6. I think there's a lot of rewatchability to it. It's a fun movie to watch with friends. The rape scene really makes me uncomfortable, even going back and seeing it. I don't really like that. But it did what it was supposed to, and that's make us uncomfortable and that was like the first initial interaction with the demon thing. thing. So, and that way I get it. 6 for me. Jeremy, what about you?
Y'all must have very different feelings about trees. No, I'm just kidding. You know what's funny? I've actually never considered trying to quantify this as far as giving it a letter grade before. A lot of what Holden said, I 100% agree with. When you're watching it, you're like, props to these guys for making it happen. On a scale of 1 to 10, well, I want to be different, but I'm gonna go with Holden and say a 6.
Pastor, what about you, man? What would you rate this movie?
Separating it from a good movie, what it represents for filmmakers and all, and how I feel about it, I give it a mixed score. I think as far as a movie goes, it wasn't great. For obvious reasons, the story wasn't there and stuff. I am super into the second one, but without this one, we wouldn't have gotten Evil Dead 2. So with all that considered, I'd give it one of those wash ratings of 5 because it wasn't great, but it wasn't totally unwatchable. And it was very important for the genre, and it was very important for the rest of the franchise to kick it off. So I appreciate Sam Raimi and all of his work. I was able to meet him and talk to him a little bit about it. Seeing it now, I think this was the first time I've seen it since I've met him. So just being in that vibe, having Bruce Campbell 5 feet away from me, it makes me appreciate it even more.
What I do really like about this, that they didn't waste any time. They just went straight into like the horror stuff. The story, it was very, very linear. You read this book, demons come, and now we just got to deal with it. So it's very simple, and you know, sometimes simple is better. I think that's exactly what they needed, and they just kept it like that. Jenna, what would you rate The Evil Dead?
I'm a little conflicted about my rating, or just finding a rating, because I was actually able to tolerate watching it, so I don't know if that makes it better or worse as a horror movie. I don't think I would watch it again, but it did have a couple, you know, made me jump a few times, but it was watchable, and I don't know if they were trying to be serious with some of the gore or kind of funny. I don't know. It was tolerable for someone who can't tolerate suspense, so I guess I would give it a 4.
And last but not least, Matthew, what would you rate The Evil Dead?
So I actually also felt kind of conflicted about my number rating, and I was thinking about it, and like, how can I rate something that is, it's like a different category almost. Like, I feel like my 1 to 10 here is so different than a 1 to 10 compared to the MCU or to Batman or to who the hell ever we're watching next. Like, I would rather watch this than Hulk. So automatically that means that it gets a 4 or higher. But there again, I don't know, it just feels different. So I guess take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, that I guess I would give this a 5. Now, having said that, you all duped me into liking this because you gave me such backstory. It's true, it's true. However, I appreciate it because I appreciated the movie more. I give this a 5.
I do feel like there's almost not justice done, since this is like Sam Raimi's The Evil Dead cult classic. We're all kind of low ratings. So I do want to clarify here that I respect the hell out of this movie and everything that they did to like get to this point. And if it wasn't for this, we wouldn't have Evil Dead 2, which is a different feel. It really is. It's
We're talking about it.
Okay, well, we're about to go into it. We're gonna just right now, we're gonna go straight into The Evil Dead 2. We're gonna take a little bit of a break. So in real time, we're gonna go straight into it. So that will be next week for you guys. If you enjoyed this video, leave it a like, helps my channel out a lot. Comment down below, letting us know what you think of our opinions on The Evil Dead. Consider joining me on Patreon. It's a great way to get early access to select videos like this one, and for our other October Halloween horror that we're gonna be doing too. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and as always, I appreciate you watching. We'll catch you in the next video. Take care.